Just shy of 7 o'clock in Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. In studio with us this morning is Inspector Michelle Lewis, and we're talking about Christmas safety tips, specifically for your home. Good morning, Inspector. How are you?
Good morning, I'm fine. Good morning to all your listening and viewing audience as well. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yes.
And this conversation that we need to have, I mean, last week we spoke about, driving safety, and home safety is something that is so critical.
Yes,
I mean,
it
throughout
is.
the year, but especially at the Christmas season. And one of the things that many times we do take into consideration, again, going back to the road, is, we need to take care, but we don't think about the fact that home safety, from possible invasions to, as we were just discussing off air, leaving children home alone,
Correct.
all these things need to be considered. Do you see an increase in these things as well?
We do see increases during times where particularly there's a school break.
Okay.
So school officially closed last week Friday, Thursday, and so we know children are at home. So we want to delve firstly into home safety where children are concerned. And as was spoken earlier on, the legal age for a child is over 18. So you're no longer a child after 18. And anybody under the age of 18 is considered a child in Trinidad and Tobago. So that leaving children to supervise children during the holiday time or during the school break is a no-no in Trinidad and Tobago. We know that has been the culture over the years, but it is something that is gradually changing because of the laws that has been instituted since 2015. And so one of the things that parents and adults, persons who have responsibility for children, must appreciate that even though it is a school break at this time, children are not babysitters, nor are they caregivers for senior citizens, for the grannies and the persons who may be elderly and sick as well. So we want also that during that time of the school vacation and the Christmas season, that you also utilize that opportunity to teach your children, your wards, life skills. Teach them how to do chores around the home and to be responsible. Being responsible does not mean that you're going to leave them alone. It means that you're going to have to guide them and direct them and show them what is the correct thing to do. A lot of times we see these things as not important in the upbringing of a child, but these things help to mold and to increase the moral and social values of individuals that will cause them to be better citizens in the future.
Definitely critical
So
for
it's
awareness.
important. It is important.
It is important. No, as you mentioned that, one of the things that my mind automatically goes to is something as simple as your children being aware of emergency numbers.
Yes.
Knowing where your entry and exit points are of the house.
Correct.
But you mentioned the elderly in particular, and we do focus on children being at home alone. As you said, it's something that's cultural. We've seen it for years. Good to see that we're seeing that shift, but specifically with the elderly as well, when we have busy families who want to go out and shop, for example, and they say, well, we'll just leave maybe our 15, 16-year-old with granny, you take care of her, and we're coming back just now. This is also something that you see happening.
And that is against the law.
Yeah.
So it does happen. It's a culture in Trinidad, as mentioned before, but it is changing because persons have been doing that over the years, and a lot of times it has been done and nothing has happened. But society has changed so much, and the minds of individuals have changed so much that you cannot leave a child to supervise an adult.
Agreed, 100%. I mean, it's common sense if you think about it, but you know what we say about common sense sometimes in
Right,
general.
you cannot leave. Also, Natasha, you have persons who are coming around in your community more.
Yes.
And so you may have your children who are at home. They might be outside doing some kind of chore, some kind of, Christmas cleaning. Have the conversation with your child or ward of what are the do's and don'ts. Do not talk to strangers. Do not share information of the family, mommy, daddy, where they're working, what time they come in home, who's home with you, and that kind of thing. When persons come around, we see a lot of times at Christmas season as a time where you see persons who have ill intent wanting to survey the area and then to come and commit a criminal offense, so that they will observe to see who are the persons there, what time the persons are home, whether people are home during the daytime or in the evening, where the doors are located. A lot of times where we see robbery and burglary taking place at homes, at sides and back doors.
Okay.
Seldom is it in the front door, because those are the doors that are very visible to the public.
Now, if I may, just as you mentioned that particularly, one of the things that we all should be aware of, not just children, but I mean specifically children, is what questions we can ask individuals, because we have seen over the past few years or so people coming in and representing different services and saying, well, we from the electricity company, we from some utilities.
Yes.
What questions can we ask or should we ask to verify whether or not that is so?
So you would inquire of the person's identification, proper identification, meaning that they're Trinidad and Tobago ID card or some kind of legitimate ID card, as well as the company ID card that that person is representing. So that person, it should have a picture of the person, and if it doesn't, then your ID card will show a picture of the person resembling that of the individual in front of you.
Right.
So those are the first port that you will use, and then you can also follow up with a call if you're still uncertain of who this person is that is actually standing in front of you. Persons have yards that are fenced and yards that are unfenced. So somebody might come up to your door, to your window. Do not utilize or do not allow that person who has now entered into your yard, because it is unfenced, for you to open the door and allow and have that conversation with that person face to face. Use the side window to do so and shout, use your voice and throw your voice and, get the information that you want from a distance. Additionally, persons who may come asking for charity, and you may be at your gate or at your door, and you want to go inside to get some kind of foodstuff to give to that person. Close your door behind you or close your gate behind you in a very polite way to ensure that when you enter back into your home to get that item, that the person doesn't follow you as well. So yes, this is the season for giving and for sharing, but we also want you to be very vigilant to maintain that level of cognitivity, that you are not irresponsible, or that things that you do not fall prey to some kind of criminal offense.
Definitely, and of course that critical awareness for children as well. I mean, for me, it gives me that feeling of, walking in your door backwards. Most people do that. And now you're doing it during the day as well, because you need to be sure. And I also love the fact that you did mention, all right, you can speak through the side window, because sometimes, some people will say, well, we don't want to be rude, we want to be polite and this and that, but safety comes first. Now, also talking about safety critically, yes, we're going out, we're shopping with families as well. And we go with our children. I mean, let's get into that, because, you see lots of children in the mall.
Yes.
And safety is imperative, also along with just making sure that your children stay with you.
Yes, so you are shopping in the mall with your children. Of course, keep your children near to you, particularly younger ones who tend to stray. If they see a toy or some lights, a Christmas tree, they'll tend to stray to it or go walk through it because it's pretty. But when you're shopping with your children, carry children or amount of children that you can manage, 2 or 3 at most, or ensure that there's a nice group of responsible adults who are looking out for each other. Sometimes when we hear of children missing, this one will say, well, I thought he with you and I thought she with you, and everyone thinking that the child is with somebody. So ensure that that level of communication is maintained, and that ever so often you ensure that there's a head count, that everybody is in that presence. Additionally, your child or a teenager or so may want to go to the mall or to go shopping for gifts or to out with their friends, as the case may be. Ensure that you get contact numbers for the friend and the parent, where the child will be going, with whom the child will be with a contact number, what time that child is expected home, and that kind of thing. So that you, and ever so often, call and ensure that the child is safe, and don't say, well, okay, the child expected 10, so the child left since 2, and I'm not going to call that child until 10 or 10 past 10. Call during the course of the day and say, how are you going? Things are right, and just check in to make sure that that child is, still safe during the hours.
Definitely, and also something we were discussing very briefly, we didn't go into detail, of course, was teaching your children the safety when it comes to cell phones, personal items, money, that sort of thing. Let's touch a bit on that.
So cell phones, rubber cell phones are still very prevalent. And it is one of the gadgets, the electronic gadgets that bandits, criminals use in the commission of offenses. So they steal cell phones and then they utilize it and then they throw it away, as the case may be. So when your child or ward has cell phone and they're walking on the street or they're in the mall, talk to them about safety. Do not have your phone out talking continuously. Pay attention to your surroundings and who is coming around you. Look back ever so often, even though you're in a mall, and see if there's anybody who is walking next to you or following you. When you have cash, do not have a wad of money in your hand because they're young and you have $400 and you want to show off. Separate your money as far as possible. When you're by the cashier, pay attention. Pull out what you need and put the rest back. Utilize the washroom if you want to go and fix yourself and make sure that everything is secure. Those are things that we want to encourage young persons to do and encourage parents and guardians to talk and have that conversation with young people.
It's interesting you mentioned that particularly because one of the things that many of us, of course, over time have come, I dare say, almost obsessed with is covering your PIN when you're using your card. And you get to the point where you don't even think about perhaps, just taking out maybe $20, a $50, $100. So you do have to be critically aware, especially when you're in the mall as well, because there are so many people and you can get lost in the throw of people that are there. Now, Inspector Michelle Lewis, I'm sure you have some more tips for us this morning.
Yes, well, of course, Christmas, you're at home. You may have your ladder out, you may have your whacker out, you may have your power washer out. These are items that are easy to be stolen by persons who are, surveying your area and looking to make a quick buck illegally. So when you have finished utilizing these items, store them away. Put them either in the storeroom or back into the vehicle to take from back to the person that you would have borrowed it from, because that happens during the holiday time. But secure those items, because those items can be stolen very easily. Additionally, leaving ladders outside your home can also be a means through which someone can enter into your home. So remove the ladders when you have finished done what you are doing, whether you're wiping down your windows or painting and that kind of thing. Ensure that you secure all those equipments and all those tools, that you do not fall victim to any type of criminal offense.
Yeah, definitely. That is something that is so important, because you do see it as we go out and about. You're going through the neighborhood and everybody's out just getting things done, and sometimes you can get a bit carried away. You have so much to do, you need to run away, perhaps go and pick up something. Maybe you need to go and pick up your children from the mall, and before you know it, you come back and something could have happened. And also something that I wouldn't say we've seen a rise in, but it is something we need to be aware of as well, is safety coming in and out of your home.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have persons still leave their keys at different points in the yard for other members of the household that may be entering. Don't take it for granted that your neighbor and those around you are familiar with you, and so you can just leave the keys anywhere, or even a driver.
Yeah.
Because sometimes a vehicle drops you because they're familiar with a driver, but the passengers in the vehicle you're not familiar with. And so you enter into your yard, and sometimes when the vehicle is turning, just where you're turning is the point in time when you go to pick up that key where you would normally leave it. So ensure that your doors, you allow your children at a particular age to be able to enter the home a particular way, meaning that there's a level of safety and a discussion that you would have had with that child or ward to make sure that that person is responsible enough to enter and exit that home. Having said that, so I use the word child or children, and I may at times refer to somebody who's just over 18. Right? But, as a parent, you still consider them a child. So forgive me if I would have said that, right? Because I still have my child in my mind who is just 19, but I still consider him. So you may have a young adult in your home, let me use that term, a young adult in that home who you would now give that level of responsibility to have a key to access the home. Ensure that that child also has that conversation where that child is responsible and very observant of what is taking place around him or her.
Definitely. Inspector Michelle Lewis, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Everybody stay tuned. Your birthdays are coming up next right after this short break. We'll be back.